What the hell do you mean they want us to stop being cute? Roger Allen slammed his fist on the conference table, rattling the water glasses. The human ambassador to the Galactic Council glared at the holographic display of Counselor Mizar, his chiseled jaw clenched in anger. Mizar's frills pulsed with irritation as he repeated the Council's ultimatum. Your species' insufferable antics have disrupted the serious business of interstellar governance for the last time. Just yesterday, you derailed critical trade negotiations by bringing a litter of kittens to the meeting. The delegates spent hours cooing over the creatures instead of discussing important matters. Roger leaned back in his chair, a defiant smirk on his face. What can I say? Humans love cute things. It's part of who we are. And that is precisely the problem, Mizar hissed. Your cuteness is a menace to the galaxy. The Council demands that humanity cease all adorable activities immediately or face strict sanctions and the revocation of your provisional membership. Roger's eyes narrowed. The Council's demand struck at the very heart of what it meant to be human. They wanted to strip away the very qualities that made his species unique, that brought joy and warmth to the cold expanse of space. He knew his people would not give up their adorableness without a fight. The lines were drawn, the stakes set. A war was coming, a war fought not with weapons, but with cuteness itself. And humanity would not back down. The news of the Council's ultimatum hit Earth like a meteor strike, sending shockwaves rippling through every corner of the planet. Social media exploded in a supernova of memes, hashtags, and viral challenges as millions of humans banded together in defiance. They pledged to crank their adorableness up to 11, determined to show the galaxy that cuteness was a fundamental part of the human experience. In the halls of the United Nations, emergency sessions stretched late into the night as world leaders grappled with the unfolding crisis. After hours of heated debate, they emerged with a daring plan. Send a delegation of Earth's most irresistibly charming representatives to Zephyria and fight cuteness with cuteness. Leading the charge was none other than Ambassador Roger Allen, the man who had started it all with his kitten gambit. He handpicked a dream team of celebrities, influencers, and precocious kids, each one a master of their own unique brand of adorableness. Together, they set off for Zephyria, determined to melt the hardened hearts of the Galactic Council. From the moment they touched down on the alien world, the human delegation caused a sensation. Crowds of curious onlookers gathered to witness their endearing antics. The spontaneous group hugs, the impromptu dance parties, the heartwarming displays of interspecies friendship. Galnet feeds lit up with videos of their exploits, spreading the gospel of human cuteness to every corner of the galaxy. Behind closed doors, the Council was in turmoil. Hardliners led by Counselor Mizar pushed for swift and decisive action against the human menace, but they found themselves opposed by a faction of moderates, spearheaded by Nerian Counselor Zara, who argued that humanity's unique gifts could be an asset if properly channeled. As the two sides jockeyed for dominance, Roger and his team worked tirelessly to win hearts and minds, one adorable gesture at a time. Little did the Council suspect that the charm offensive was only the opening salvo in a much larger campaign. Back on Earth, a covert task force labored day and night on Project Snuggle, a galaxy-spanning operation to unleash a tsunami of irresistible human media across the Galnet. Heartwarming videos of babies and puppies, tales of unlikely friendships between species, images of humans engaging in acts of kindness and compassion, all carefully crafted to strike at the heartstrings of the galactic audience. As the first wave of Project Snuggle content hit the airwaves, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, hardened warriors and jaded politicians found themselves wiping away tears, their hearts melted by the sheer power of human adorableness. In the Council chambers, Mizar and his allies watched in growing alarm as public opinion began to turn against them. The battle lines were drawn, the stakes higher than ever before. On one side stood the humans, armed with the most potent weapon in the universe, their undeniable cuteness. On the other, the Council hardliners, determined to resist the onslaught at any cost. Both knew that this was no ordinary diplomatic dispute, but a clash of cultures that would determine the very future of galactic civilization. The cute war had begun, and no heart was safe from the power of human adorableness. As the Snuglight epidemic swept across the galaxy, the once indomitable Galactic Council found itself on the brink of collapse. In the halls of power, hardliners and moderates alike struggled to maintain their grip on the reins of government, even as their own staff fell prey to the insidious cuteness of the genetically engineered creatures. On Earth, Dr. Elias Hoffman watched the chaos unfold with a mixture of pride and trepidation. He knew that his creations held the power to reshape the galaxy, to break down the barriers of mistrust and hostility that had divided species for eons. But he also knew that such power came with a price. In his hidden laboratory, Hoffman worked feverishly to refine the Snuglights, to make them even more irresistible and effective. His team labored around the clock, driven by a sense of urgency that bordered on obsession. They all knew that time was running out, that the Council would stop at nothing to destroy their work. And they were right. Even as the Snuglights worked their magic on the hearts and minds of the galactic populace, Agent Zorn and his team were closing in on their target. They moved like shadows through the streets of Earth's cities, using every tool and tactic at their disposal to track down the elusive Dr. Hoffman. But Hoffman was not alone. Ambassador Roger Allen and his team of adorable operatives were always one step ahead, working tirelessly to protect the geneticist and his precious creations. They staged elaborate diversions and decoys, leading Zorn and his agents on a merry chase across the planet. As the two sides played out their deadly game of cat and mouse, the Snuglights continued to spread, their influence growing with each passing day. On 1,000 worlds, alien citizens who had once viewed humans with suspicion or outright hostility now found themselves inexplicably drawn to the charming, cuddly creatures from Earth. In the council chambers on Zephyria, Mazar watched the reports coming in with a sense of growing desperation. He knew that if the Snuglights were not stopped, the council's authority would be forever undermined, its power broken by the sheer force of human adorableness. In a last-ditch effort to turn the tide, Mizar authorized the use of the Council's most secret and deadly weapon, the Nullifier, a device capable of generating a field that would neutralize the Snuglights' effects on a planetary scale. If he could deploy the Nullifier on Earth itself, he reasoned, he could cut off the Snuglight threat at its source. But the humans were not about to let their greatest weapon be destroyed so easily. As soon as they learned of Mizar's plan, Ambassador Allen and his team sprang into action. They raced to intercept the Nullifier before it could be activated, engaging in a desperate struggle with Zorn and his agents for control of the device. On Earth, Dr. Hoffman worked frantically to complete his ultimate creation, a Snuglight capable of bonding with entire populations at once, its cuteness amplified to an almost unimaginable degree. If he could unleash this meta-Snuglight on the galaxy, he knew, the cute war would be over in a matter of days. But even as Hoffman put the finishing touches on his masterpiece, Agent Zorn and his team closed in on the hidden laboratory. They stormed the facility with all the force and fury of the Galactic Council's elite operatives, determined to eliminate the Snuglight threat, once and for all. In the chaos of the raid, Hoffman barely managed to escape, fleeing into the night with his precious meta-Snuglight. He knew that if he could just get the creature to Ambassador Allen and his team, they could unleash it on the galaxy and end the cute war in one decisive stroke. But Zorn was hot on his heels, and the clock was ticking. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and the power of cuteness was about to be put to the ultimate test. The cute war was reaching its explosive climax, and no one could predict which side would emerge victorious in the end. The secret laboratory beneath the Himalayas thrummed with tension as Dr. Elias Hoffman rushed through dimly lit corridors, clutching a containment unit filled with the last remaining Snuglights. Alarms blared, echoing off the cold steel walls as Agent Zorn and his Sakari strike team breached the outer defenses. Hoffman's security forces engaged the intruders, filling the air with the sharp crack of gunfire and the acrid smell of ozone from energy weapons. Genetically modified guard beasts, a bizarre fusion of bear and sloth, lumbered into the fray, their adorable yet deadly forms catching several Sakari off guard. Agent Zorn moved with ruthless efficiency, his cybernetic enhancements allowing him to anticipate and counter each new threat. He watched with grim satisfaction as his team methodically dismantled Hoffman's defenses, pushing deeper into the complex. In the main laboratory, Hoffman frantically inputted commands into a computer terminal, initiating the facility's self-destruct sequence. He scooped up a vial of glowing blue liquid and darted towards a hidden escape tunnel, just as Zorn burst through the reinforced doors. "It's over, Hoffman," Zorn's augmented voice boomed across the room. "Surrender the snuglights and come quietly." The scientist's response was to release a swarm of snuglights from their containment unit. The air filled with chirps and coos as the adorable creatures swarmed towards the Sakari troops. Zorn's team faltered, their hardened exteriors crumbling in the face of such overwhelming cuteness. One by one they succumbed, dropping their weapons to cuddle and coo at the snuglights. Gritting his teeth, Zorn activated his helmet's anti-awe protocols. A cocktail of chemicals flooded his system, suppressing his capacity for affection. With cold detachment, he strode through the sea of snuglights, fixing his gaze on the fleeing Hoffman. Just as Zorn cornered the scientist at the mouth of the escape tunnel, the laboratory doors exploded inward. Captain Jack Harper and his cuteness corps stormed in, their tactical gear adorned with fuzzy patches and pastel colors. "Stand down, Zorn," Harper bellowed, leveling a cute amplifier at the Sakari agent. "You're outmatched and outnumbered." The laboratory erupted into chaos as the three factions clashed. Zorn's troops, shaking off the effects of the snuglights, engaged Harper's team with anti-cute weaponry. Beams of energy capable of neutralizing adorableness lanced across the room, met by the cuteness corps' own arsenal of tactical snuggles and weaponized charm. Caught in the crossfire, Hoffman made a desperate decision. With shaking hands, he uncapped the vial of blue liquid and downed its contents in one gulp. The effect was immediate and horrifying. Hoffman's body contorted and swelled, his skin erupting in a riot of pastel colors and soft fur. In moments, he had transformed into a towering behemoth of pure, concentrated cuteness. His now massive paws swatted Sakari troops aside like toys, while waves of irresistible charm radiated from his fuzzy form. Zorn's remaining forces crumbled under the onslaught, their anti-cute defenses overwhelmed by Hoffman's raw adorability. Even Zorn himself staggered back, his augmented willpower straining against the creature's influence. Captain Harper and his cuteness corps held their ground, their advanced training and equipment allowing them to resist Hoffman's charms. They formed a defensive line, cute amplifiers humming as they tried to contain the mutated scientist. Realizing the battle was lost, Zorn snarled a command to his few remaining troops. "Fall back! We'll finish this another day!" As they retreated, Zorn's cybernetic eye locked onto Hoffman's monstrous form. "This isn't over," he growled. But even as the Sakari fled, Hoffman's victory proved short-lived. The mutagenic serum ravaged his body, his new form destabilizing with each passing moment. He collapsed to the ground, his massive bulk shrinking and twisting. Captain Harper rushed to the fallen scientist's side, cradling Hoffman's head as he reverted to his human form. "Hold on, Doctor. We'll get you help." Hoffman's eyes, now pools of liquid cuteness, locked onto Harper's face. "It's too late for me, Captain," he wheezed, "but you must listen. The snuglights, they were just the beginning." "What do you mean?" Harper asked, leaning closer. With his final breath, Hoffman whispered, "Beware, the apocalypse of adorability. It's coming, and not even I could stop it." As Hoffman's eyes closed for the last time, Captain Harper stood, his face grim. He tapped his communicator, connecting to Earth's High Command. "This is Harper. The immediate threat is neutralized, but we have a bigger problem. Hoffman's dead, but he warned of something called the apocalypse of adorability. We need to—" A massive explosion rocked the facility, cutting off Harper's transmission. The self-destruct sequence Hoffman had initiated was reaching its climax. As alarms blared and the ceiling began to cave in, Harper barked orders to his team. "Grab what intel you can and move out. We need to warn Earth about what's coming." The cuteness corps scrambled to salvage what they could from the crumbling lab, racing against time as the mountain itself seemed to groan around them. Whatever the apocalypse of adorability might be, they knew one thing for certain. The cute war was not nearly finished. The Cuteness Corps emerged from the collapsing Himalayan facility, their uniforms singed and tattered. Captain Harper clutched a data drive salvaged from Hoffman's lab, his face grim as he surveyed his battered team. "Command, this is Harper. We've got critical intel on an impending threat, requesting immediate extraction." Within hours, Harper found himself in a secure bunker beneath the White House, facing President Michael Stein and his assembled cabinet. The room crackled with tension as Harper plugged in the data drive. "Gentlemen, what you're about to see changes everything," Harper said, his voice heavy. Holographic displays flickered to life, revealing schematics for a colossal machine. President Stein leaned forward, his eyes widening. "What in God's name is that?" "The Cuttle Cannon, sir," Harper replied. "Hoffman's ultimate weapon, a factory capable of mass-producing enhanced snug lights and dispersing them across the galaxy." Defense Secretary Reeves whistled low. "With this, we could end the war in days." "Or strip free will from trillions," countered Secretary of State Chen, her face pale. President Stein's heart made as he studied the schematics. "Options, people, I need them now." For hours the debate raged. Ethicists argued against using the weapon, while military hardliners pushed for full deployment. As dawn broke over Washington, Stein made his decision. "We build it," he announced, silencing the room. "But we use it as leverage, a bargaining chip to force the Council's surrender." Across the solar system, humanity mobilized. Massive production facilities rose from the red sands of Mars and the icy moons of Jupiter. Scientists worked feverishly, enhancing the snug light's already formidable cuteness. On Zephyria, Councillor Mizar stalked the halls of power, his face twisted with rage. "The humans have gone too far," he snarled to his assembled loyalists. "We must crush them, regardless of the cost." In a secure chamber deep within the Council's military complex, Mizar unveiled a hologram of a terrifying device. "The sublimation beam," he announced, "capable of rendering Earth uninhabitable in a single strike." Councillor Zara gasped. "Mizar, you can't be serious! This is genocide!" Mizar's eyes flashed. "It's survival, Zara. Us or them." As the Council's fleet mobilized, chaos erupted across the galaxy. On a dozen worlds, snug light cults emerged from the shadows. Swarms of adorable creatures overwhelmed planetary defenses, their infatuated alien worshippers in tow. On New Eden, the Council's primary military hub, alarms blared as a snug light cult seized control of the central communications array. The creatures chirped and cooed as they reprogrammed the system, broadcasting images of wide-eyed snug lights across all channels. In the White House Situation Room, President Stein received the news with grim resignation. "They've left us no choice," he said, reaching for the secure comm unit. "Activate the Cuttle Cannon, limited deployment only." Across the solar system, massive launch facilities roared to life. Swarms of enhanced snug lights streaked across the void, zeroing in on key Council strongholds. On Zephyria, Mizar watched in horror as world after world fell to the onslaught of cuteness. His cyber-enhanced fist clenched as he turned to his most loyal commander. "Prepare the sublimation beam. Target, Earth." Deep within Mizar's inner circle, a human mole carefully hidden for years sprang into action. With a few deft keystrokes, the operative sabotaged the sublimation beam's targeting systems. Alarms blared throughout the Cuttle Cannon's control center as sensors detected the attempted strike on Earth. Fail-safes engaged, and the massive machine entered total dispersal mode. Across the galaxy, the skies filled with snug lights. They poured from ships, streaked through atmospheres, and materialized on countless worlds. Their overwhelming adorability swept aside all resistance. In his fortified bunker, Mizar huddled with his last remaining loyalists. "We'll regroup," he snarled. "We'll find a way to—" The blast doors burst open in a shower of sparks. Mizar's eyes widened as he found himself face to face with an army of snug-light cultists, their arms outstretched and ready to embrace. Mizar's eyes widened as the snug-light cultists swarmed into his bunker, their arms outstretched and faces beaming with unbridled joy. He stumbled backward, his cybernetic enhancements working overtime to resist the waves of adorability washing over him. "Stand back," he snarled, brandishing a small anti-cute device. But his loyalists, overwhelmed by the sheer force of cuteness, dropped their weapons and rushed to embrace the furry invaders. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on countless worlds. The Cuddle Cannon's full deployment had saturated every corner of known space with irresistible snuglights. Military strongholds fell in minutes, their defenders reduced to cooing, giggling messes. On Earth, President Stein watched the reports flood in with a mixture of relief and trepidation. "My God," he whispered, "we've actually done it." His moment of reflection was interrupted by an urgent transmission from Counselor Zara. Her holographic form flickered to life, her expression a blend of awe and concern. "President Stein," she said, her voice tight, "we need to talk. The Council, what's left of it, is ready to negotiate." Within hours, Stein found himself face-to-face with Zara and the remaining moderate council members. The negotiations were tense but surprisingly swift. With their military might neutralized and populations succumbing to snuglight influence, the council had little choice but to accept human terms. "We'll grant Earth full council membership," Zara conceded, her shoulders slumping. And free expansion rights." Stein nodded, his face grave. "And the sanctions?" "Lifted," another counselor mumbled, unable to meet Stein's eyes. As the details were hammered out, reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy. On New Eden, the Tactical Cute Corps had cornered the last pockets of anti-cute resistance. Live feeds showed hardened soldiers throwing down their weapons, overcome by the sight of snuglights performing synchronized somersaults. But it was the fall of Mizar that truly marked the end of the war. After days of siege, the once mighty counselor emerged from his bunker, flanked by grinning snuglight handler teams. His cybernetic enhancements sparked and sputtered, pushed beyond their limits in the futile effort to resist cute overload. In a galaxy-wide broadcast, Mizar stood before the assembled representatives of a dozen worlds. His voice cracked as he spoke the words that would change the course of galactic history. "I, Counselor Mizar, hereby acknowledge humanity's unquestionable mastery of cuteness." He paused, grimacing as if the words physically pained him. "I relinquish my position as council chair and accept all terms dictated by Earth." As Mizar stumbled off stage, his will finally crumbling, the gathered humans erupted in celebration. Captain Harper, watching from a forward operating base, allowed himself a small smile before turning to address his team. "All right, people," he said, his voice firm. "This is just the beginning. We've won the war, but now comes the hard part, winning the peace." Across the galaxy, human ambassadors prepared for their new roles. They would be the vanguard of a new era, spreading not just cuteness, but understanding and cooperation. As Harper's team boarded their dropship, bound for a newly contacted world, he couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. The galaxy was changing, one adorable snuglight at a time, and humanity would be there to guide it towards a future brighter and far cuter than anyone could have imagined. The euphoria of victory was short-lived. As humanity basked in its newfound galactic dominance, President Stein knew the real work had only just begun. In the Oval Office, he addressed his inner circle, his eyes gleaming with drive. "We didn't win this war just to rule through fear," Stein declared. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity truly stands for." Within weeks, Earth launched its most ambitious initiative yet, the Snugglebassador program. Across countless worlds, human diplomats arrived, flanked by teams of specially trained snuglights. Their mission, to spread understanding, empathy, and the transformative power of cuteness. On Zephyria, the former seat of the Galactic Council, Counselor Zara watched with a mixture of awe and trepidation as Snugglebassadors set up cultural exchange centers. The once bustling military districts now echoed with the sound of interspecies laughter and the soft cooing of snuglights. "I never thought I'd see the day," Zara murmured, stroking the fur of a purring snuglight perched on her shoulder. But not everyone welcomed Earth's cuddly conquest. Deep within the uncharted regions of the Outer Rim, Supreme Imperator Thraxon of the Vorlax Supremacy watched the reports with growing disgust. "This saccharine plague will not infect our people," he snarled, his scaled fists clenching. Prepare the fleet. It's time we reminded the galaxy of true strength. As Thraxon's forces mobilized in secret, Earth remained blissfully unaware of the gathering storm. Captain Harper, now a decorated hero, led diplomatic missions to newly pacified worlds. On a sweltering jungle planet, he knelt before a group of alien children, presenting them with their very own snuglights. "Remember," Harper said, smiling as the children's eyes lit up with joy, "these little guys are more than just pets. They're a symbol of the friendship between our worlds." The moment of peace shattered as Harper's communicator crackled to life. "Captain, we have a situation," a frantic voice reported. "Multiple abductions across the sector. High-value targets. It's the Vorlax, sir." Harper's blood ran cold. As he raced back to his ship, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Counselor Mizar snatched from his re-education center. The entire command staff of the Cuteness Corps vanished without a trace. In the White House Situation Room, President Stein's face was grim as he absorbed the magnitude of the crisis. "They're trying to undo everything we've accomplished," he growled. Outside, panic spread like wildfire. On a dozen worlds, crowds of Snuglight worshippers surrounded council facilities, their cries for capitulation growing louder by the minute. Stein's advisors shifted nervously. "Sir, maybe we should consider their demands. The stability of the entire Imperium is at stake." But Stein's fist tight with perseverance. "No," he said firmly. "We didn't come this far to be bullied by unreconstructed space meanies. Activate Operation Trojan Pony." As Earth seemingly began dismantling its Snuglight programs, Thraxon gloated in his fortress on Vorlax Prime. "See how quickly their perseverance crumbles," he sneered to his commanders. The Vorlax's celebration was premature. In the shadows, Earth's deadliest weapon was already deploying, the tactical Cute Core. On a dozen Vorlax worlds, the night sky erupted with streaks of light. But these were no ordinary projectiles. As they burst open, waves of concentrated adorability washed over Vorlax strongholds. In the command center of a frontier outpost, a Vorlax officer's eyes widened in horror. "Sir, our defenses are being overwhelmed by... His words trailed off as a Snuglight, enhanced with military-grade cuteness, waddled through the breach. The officer's cybernetic implants sparked and sputtered, trying desperately to resist the onslaught of adorability. As Vorlax resistance crumbled, the legendary Captain Jennifer Pixie Roberts led her team deep into the heart of Thraxon's citadel. They moved like shadows, neutralizing elite meanie guards with precision strikes of concentrated kawaii energy. In his command center, Thraxon raged as reports of defeat poured in from across his empire. "Impossible!" he roared. "How can mere cuteness defeat the might of the Vorlax?" The doors of the command center burst open. Captain Roberts stood framed in the doorway, her cute amplifier humming with power. "It's over, Thraxon," she declared. "Surrender now, and we can end this peacefully." Thraxon's eyes blazed with defiance. "Never! The Vorlax supremacy will never bow to your insipid—" His words cut off as a small, furry form tumbled through Robert's legs. A chibi-class mascot, its eyes impossibly large and sparkling, toddled toward the Vorlax leader. "No," Thraxon whispered, stumbling backward. "Stay away!" But it was too late. As the mascot reached out with tiny, chubby arms, Thraxon's resistance crumbled. Tears welled in his eyes as he scooped up the adorable creature, all thoughts of conquest forgotten. As the Vorlax supremacy fell, a new era dawned for the galaxy. But even as celebrations erupted across 1,000 worlds, Captain Roberts knew the fight for hearts and minds was a long way to go. Captain Jennifer Pixie Roberts stood at the helm of the newly christened CSS Snuggletron, Earth's most advanced cuteness deployment vessel. The bridge hummed with activity as her crew monitored real-time cuteness levels across the galaxy. "Supreme Commander," her XO reported, "we're detecting a spike in grumpiness in the Orion arm. Shall we deploy the Fluffa-Truppen?" Roberts nodded, her eyes gleaming with dedication. "Make it so, and prep the squee cannons for good measure." Within minutes, drop pods streaked through the atmosphere of a dozen worlds. As they touched down, the Flufa-Truppen emerged, cherubic warriors whose very presence sent waves of irresistible charm rippling across the landscape. On Zephyria, Counselor Zara watched in awe as a squad of Flufa-Truppen effortlessly neutralized a pocket of hardline resistance. The once fierce warriors crumpled under the onslaught of Pout psionics, reduced to cooing messes. Incredible, Zara murmured, turning to her human liaison. I never thought I'd see the day when cuteness became the ultimate weapon. Meanwhile, President Stein addressed the newly formed Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 100 worlds listened raptly as he outlined the principles of the hug-share movement. For too long our galaxy has been divided, Stein declared. But now, through the power of interspecial snorgels and nuzzles, we will forge a new era of peace and understanding. As if on cue, a wave of snuggle-ambassadors flooded the chamber, distributing plush toys and offering free hugs to all in attendance. The effect was immediate and profound. Age-old rivalries melted away as hardened diplomats found themselves caught up in impromptu cuddle sessions. Back on the front lines, Captain Roberts oversaw the deployment of the multi-species Snugnado Force. Human troops trained in advanced scrunchy protocols worked seamlessly alongside Tundari cuddlebugs and Krookth dinky drop teams. Target that grumpy enclave, Roberts ordered, pointing to a cluster of red dots on the tactical display. Full snuggle barrage. The response was swift and overwhelming. Waves of concentrated snuggly woof washed over the target area, dissolving all resistance in its path. Within minutes, the red dots transformed to a soothing green. As the year 2023 dawned, Roberts found herself summoned to Earth for a special briefing. In the White House Situation Room, she came face to face with President Stein himself. Captain, excuse me, Supreme Commander, Stein said, his voice grave. We've received word of a new threat, the Synacalypse uprisings in the Outer Rim. I need you to take personal command of this operation. Roberts straightened, her eyes glinting with perseverance. Sir, with all due respect, why me? Surely there are others more qualified to... Stein cut her off with a wave of his hand. There's no one more qualified, Pixie. You're the best we've got, and for this mission, we're breaking out the big guns. He gestured to a holographic display, revealing a massive orbital array. This is Project Snuggles, capable of carpet-bombing entire continents with holographic squirrel dervishes and syrupy concerto barrages. It's our ultimate weapon against cynicism and despair. Robert's eyes widened as she took in the implications. Sir, are you sure about this? The collateral Snuggles alone could... I know the risks, Stein interrupted, but the fate of the stars hangs in the balance. We need to show these nihilists the true power of positivity. As Roberts left the briefing, her mind raced with plans and strategies. The Synacalypse uprisings would be her greatest challenge yet, but with the full might of Earth's cute imperium at her back, she knew that victory and galactic cuddles were within reach. As the Synacalypse uprisings faded into memory, Supreme Commander Jennifer Pixie Roberts surveyed the galaxy from the bridge of the CSS Snuggletron. The once chaotic star systems now pulsed with an overwhelming aura of peace and contentment. Entire sectors had been transformed into vast realms of cuddly bliss, each one a testament to humanity's commitment to spreading joy across the cosmos. Status report, Roberts ordered, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Andromeda arm. Lieutenant Chen, her second-in-command, stepped forward. Ma'am, Cuddle Sector Zeta-9 is now operational. The Fluffernutter Nebula has been successfully reshaped into a giant plush playground, and the surrounding star systems have been converted to themed zones of cartoon whimsy. Roberts nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Excellent work, Lieutenant. And the happiness levels? Off the charts, ma'am. We're registering unprecedented levels of endorphins and serotonin across all monitored species. As Roberts basked in the glow of their success, an urgent communication interrupted the moment of triumph. President Stein's holographic form materialized on the bridge, his expression grave. Supreme Commander, we have a situation, Stein said, his voice tight with concern. We're detecting pockets of resistance in the outer colonies. Reports of anti-cute sabotage and civil disobedience are flooding in. Roberts straightened, her smile fading. Renegade glums, sir? Stein nodded. I'm afraid so. They're disrupting our Snuglite supply chains and targeting our Whittle waypointers. We need to act fast. What are your orders, Mr. President? Stein's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. I'm authorizing Operation Sugarlove. We're going to win these hearts and minds once and for all. As the transmission ended, Roberts turned to her crew. You heard the president. Prepare for mass deployment of syrup drip conditioning units. We're going to show these cynics the true meaning of adorability. Across the galaxy, Earth's most advanced cute technology sprang into action. Pavlovian conditioning chambers were installed on every newly assimilated world. Citizens were exposed to carefully calibrated doses of sugary stimuli, their neural pathways rewired to associate happiness with the cutest possible stimuli. On the planet Gloomhaven, once a bastion of the renegade glums movement, Roberts personally oversaw the implementation of Sugarlove. As she walked through the streets, she marveled at the transformation. Where once there had been scowls and raised fists, now there were only beatific smiles and spontaneous group hugs. It's working, she murmured, watching as a former resistance leader handed out flower crowns to passersby. We're finally achieving true galactic harmony. But even as Roberts celebrated their victory, a shadow fell across the stars. In her lab on Earth, Dr. Gillian Caspley, chief science advisor to President Stein, watched with growing satisfaction as her true plan unfolded. Fools, she whispered, her eyes gleaming with a dangerous light. They have no idea what they've unleashed. As the Sugarlove protocol spread from world to world, Caspley's hidden subroutines began to take effect. The blissful smiles of the newly converted citizens grew slack, their eyes glazing over as they slipped into an artificial, endless slumber. The snooze-pocalypse had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same. As Dr. Caspley's hidden protocols activated, the once joyous populace slipped into an artificial slumber. Billions of beings across countless worlds collapsed where they stood, their faces frozen in blissful smiles, even as consciousness faded. On the bridge of the CSS Snuggletron, alarms blared. Lieutenant Chen's eyes widened in horror as he watched the galactic map flicker with countless red warning indicators. Supreme Commander, he cried, we're losing contact with entire sectors. Life signs they're just dropping off the charts. Roberts gripped the command console, her fist clenched. What in the name of all that's fluffy is happening? Before Chen could respond, the ship lurched violently. The crew stumbled as the Snuggletron systems began to fail. Ma'am, the helmsman called out, fighting to keep the ship stable. We're losing power. The cute reactor it's shutting down. Roberts's mind raced. How could this be happening? The Sugarlove protocol was supposed to bring peace, not this. As the bridge lights flickered and emergency systems kicked in, she made a decision. All hands prepare for emergency protocols. We need to get back to Earth, now. The journey was fraught with peril. As they limped through space, Roberts and her crew witnessed the full scope of the catastrophe unfolding across the stars. Once thriving worlds had gone silent, their populations trapped in an endless, saccharine sleep. When they finally reached Earth, the sight that greeted them was beyond imagination. The planet's defenses were down, its cities eerily quiet. As they made their descent, Roberts spotted pockets of movement, small groups of people who had somehow resisted the snooze-pocalypse. Among the survivors, a resistance was forming. Moderates like Roberts found themselves allied with unlikely companions, hardened cynics and reformed glums who had instinctively distrusted the Sugarlove protocols. In the ruins of the White House, Roberts found President Stein. The once powerful leader was a shell of his former self, his eyes haunted by the weight of what he had unleashed. I never meant for this to happen, Stein whispered, his voice cracking. We only wanted to make the galaxy a better place. Roberts placed a hand on his shoulder. I know, sir, but now we need to focus on fixing this. As they gathered what resources they could, reports began to trickle in from across the planet. A name was on everyone's lips. General Krell. The embittered military leader had seen the writing on the wall, and had been preparing for this moment. While the rest of the galaxy slumbered, Kraal's forces moved with brutal efficiency. His pragmatists seized control of key installations, stockpiling weapons and consolidating power. From his fortified command center, Kraal issued his ultimatum. The honeyed words of the old regime were gone, replaced by cold, hard pragmatism. The age of enforced cuteness is over. Kraal's message boomed across every functioning communication channel. Submit to the new order or face the consequences. As Roberts listened to the broadcast, her face tight with certainty, she turned to her ragtag group of survivors, a mix of loyal troops and former adversaries united by circumstance. "We can't let Kraal win," she said, "but we can't go back to how things were either. We need a new way forward." In the shadow of a fallen Giga-Snugglebond silo, Roberts and her allies began to plan. The battle for the future of the galaxy was just beginning, and this time there would be no easy solutions.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.